Mira, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay. That's me. Okay. Yes, hi, I'm Mara Mintzer. I'm a co-founder and director of Growing Up Boulder, Boulder's child-friendly city initiative. But enough with all this, let's get on to the story of what this really is about. So our society routinely makes decisions without consulting a quarter of the population. We make decisions about land use, energy production, and natural resources without the ideas and opinions of the full community. The car, an inanimate experience, has more say over public policy than this group of citizens. Do you know the group that I'm talking about? Okay, you're kind of a special audience, so you know. It's children. Thank you. I work in the field of child-friendly cities, and as you know, most cities are designed by adults. Urban planners, developers, politicians, and occasionally a few loud citizens thrown in. Rarely do you consider hearing from a 4-year-old barely tall enough to reach the podium at city council chambers. But today, I want to ask you this. What would happen if we asked children to design our cities? And those are actual 4-year-olds at our city council talking to our city councilors. Back in 2009, I was introduced to a small group of people who wanted to start a child-friendly city initiative. Now, I had spent my career until that point working with marginalized children and families, and I come from a family of civil rights advocates, but I had never heard of a child-friendly city initiative before. So, I figured its purpose would be to advocate for more changing tables in restaurants or indoor spaces for those cold and rainy days. In other words, make the city more hospitable to children and families, and that's important. It wasn't until after I committed to this project that I realized I had it all wrong. We wouldn't be making cities better for children and families. Children would be designing better cities for themselves and for the rest of us as well. Now, perhaps you're skeptical about this idea, and honestly, I was too. I mean, there must be a reason the voting age is 18. Actually, not a good reason. But how could children possibly understand complex ideas like our city's affordable housing crisis or how to develop a transportation master plan? And even if they had ideas, wouldn't they be unreasonable or childish? I mean, come on, do our cities really need a park made out of cotton candy? Or what about a bridge with water cannons that shoot water onto kayakers underneath? And while these sound like legitimate concerns, I realized that not including young people in the design process was actually a much bigger problem. After all, shouldn't we include end users in the design of spaces that they're going to be using? And so what I'm showing you here is actually a picture of our nation's first printed child-friendly city map, which was designed with 700 children and families. And who knows better about where children want to go than the children themselves? So, with all of this in mind, in 2009, we designed a program called Growing Up Boulder, which works with children ages 0 through 18 to involve their ideas in innovative city planning. So I want to actually describe to you what that looks like. Here's an example. So in 2012, the city of Boulder wanted to redesign a large downtown park called the Civic Area. Now this area is bounded by a library on one side, by a farmer's market on the other side, and by a creek which runs through the middle. The city needed a new design to better handle the inevitable flash floods, to restore a sense of safety from the number of drug use and homeless population in the area, and also to support an expanded farmer's market. So from 2012 through 2014, we worked with more than 200 young people, ranging from preschool through high school students, and here's what we did. First, we visited children in their classrooms and presented the project, what it was, why their ideas mattered, and what would happen with those ideas. Before we could influence them, we asked kids to record their ideas of the space based on their own lived experiences. Next, we took our secondary school students on a field trip where they used photography to document what they liked and didn't like about the civic area site. Through green picture frames, students highlighted things they enjoyed, such as university students tubing down the creek. Then they flipped those same frames over onto the red site to highlight what they didn't like, such as smelly trash. Our primary school students studied the civic area by researching similar sites with challenges from around the world. Then the kids combined their original ideas with their new inspiration to synthesize innovative design solutions. Each class invited adult planners, city council members, and community members into their classrooms to share their recommendations. Boulder's senior urban planner stepped over stuffed animals and blocks in order to explore the preschool students' full-size classroom recreation of the civic area space. And the adults marveled at 11-year-olds' ingenuity as kids took an ice skating rink fashioned from a jelly bracelet and public art constructed out of plastic animal-shaped beads to represent public art to create their new world. And while this may seem ridiculous, it's actually not so different from the designs that professional architects make. Now, fast forward 7 years, and I am pleased to report that many of the young people's ideas have been implemented in the final design. For example, there's new access to the creek so kids of all ages can safely access the water. Lighting in previously dark underpasses, which had deterred secondary school students from walking and biking home at night. And separated biking and walking paths so speeding bikes won't hit young people as they stroll down the creek side. And you can see the separated biking path with those two different colors. My daughter and I even ice skated on the new child-requested ice skating rink. So, were all of the children's ideas incorporated into the final plan? Of course not. Democracy is a very messy process. But just as a well-informed 8-year-old does not expect her ideas to be implemented, neither should an adult. Now, we've been using this process for 10 years and found some incredible benefits to designing cities with children along the way. First of all, kids think differently from adults, and that's a wonderful thing. Adults think about constraints. How much time will a project take? How much money will it cost? And how dangerous will it be? In other words, are we going to get sued? Basically, it's not that the constraints aren't real, but if we kill off ideas in the beginning, it dampens the creativity and the design process. Kids, on the other hand, think about possibilities. For kids, the sky is the limit, literally. When we worked with middle school students to design a teen-friendly park, they drew pictures of skydiving, hang gliding, and jumping off of trampolines into giant foam pits. Some of these ideas were far-fetched, but the commonalities amongst them revealed an important story. Our adolescents wanted thrill-seeking opportunities, which makes perfect sense given their developmental stage in life. So our task as connectors between inspiration and reality was to point them towards thrill-seeking opportunities that could actually be included in a park. And this is exactly what parks in Australia have done with their fast zip lines and their 10-meter-tall climbing towers. And when kids dream up a space, their designs almost always feature fun, play, and movement. This is definitely not what adults prioritize, but research shows that adults should actually be prioritizing fun, play, and movement for their own health as well. And who wouldn't enjoy a treehouse with a little lending library and a comfortable beanbag chair for reading? Or what about a public art display that sprays paint onto canvas every time you walk up the steps? In addition to fun and play, young people value beauty in their designs. When tasked with designing dense, affordable, sustainable housing, our 8-year-olds and teenagers rejected the blocks of identical beige condominiums that so many developers favor. Instead, they built homes with bright colors, both for the houses and for the play equipment. They placed flowers between biking and walking paths and added benches along the creek so they could hang out with their friends and enjoy the water's tranquility. Which leads me to nature. Children have a biological need to connect with nature, and this shows up in their designs. They want nature right in their backyards, not 4 blocks away, so they design communities that incorporate water, fruit trees, gardens, flowers, and small mammals into the common spaces on site. And this is logical because, for better and worse, today's 5-year-olds are rarely allowed to walk those 4 blocks by themselves to access a park. And nature in one's immediate environment has been shown to benefit everyone because it has restorative effects for all ages. It may come as a surprise, but we even take into consideration the desires of our littlest citizens, babies and toddlers. From toddlers, we learned that the joy of walking comes from what you discover along the way. When we studied the 19th Street corridor in Boulder, toddlers spent long stretches of time exploring leaves in a ditch or sparkles in the sidewalk. And they reminded us to slow down and design a path where the journey is as important as the destination. Children include not only plants and trees in their designs, but animals. Insects, birds, and small mammals figure prominently into children's designs. Whether it's because children are actually closer to the ground and can see the grasshoppers better than we adults can, or simply because they have a great sense of empathy for other beings, children include non-human species in their ideal worlds. Across the boards, kids are inclusive in their city planning. They design for everyone, from their grandma in the wheelchair to a homeless woman they see sleeping in the park. They design for living creatures, not for cars, egos, or corporations. The last and perhaps most compelling discovery we made is one that you likely know. A city friendly to children is a city friendly to all. A former mayor once observed that children are a kind of indicator species. If we can build a successful city for children, we will have a successful city for all people. And this makes sense. Kids can't just drive a car to the store, and most kids can't afford lunch at an expensive cafe. So when we build a city that considers kids' needs for affordable transportation or inexpensive food venues, we're meeting the needs of many other populations as well. The more frequent and more affordable bus service, so desired by our youth, also supports senior citizens who wish to live independently if they're no longer able to drive cars. And teens' recommendations for smooth, protected walking and skateboarding surfaces also meet the needs of a parent pushing a stroller or someone in a wheelchair. So to me, all of this work has revealed an important blind spot. If we aren't including children in the design process, who else aren't we including? Are we listening to people of color, to immigrants, to the elderly, people with reduced incomes, or people who are differently abled? What innovative design solutions are we overlooking because we're not hearing the needs of the whole community? We can't possibly know the needs and wants of other people without asking. That goes for children and for everyone else. So my call to action for all of us is this. Let's stop thinking of our children as future citizens and instead start valuing them for the citizens they are today. If we would only stop, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. If we would only stop, ask, and listen to our young people, they have so much to teach us. Because children are actually proposing the cities that will make us healthier and happier. Children are cities filled with nature, play, movement, social connection, and beauty. Kids are designing the cities that we all want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you,
you very
Mara.
much.
Thank you very much.